Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for being here today with us. I would like to thank ELIAMEP, the US Embassy, and the American College of Greece for bringing us together for this very timely discussion. Today, we're going to talk about innovation as a driving force for Greek-American relations. We have experienced a tremendous improvement in the US-Greek relations over the past years. And they're currently, as officials from both sides state continuously, they're currently at the best level they have ever been. And Athens has evolved into a crucial pro-US geopolitical actor in the region. But we usually focus on the close cooperation between Greece and the US on security and defense and geostrategic issues. But over the last years, a number of US companies have opened or announced they will open local investments in the Greek market. So before starting our panel discussion on this issue, I would like to ask the US Ambassador to Greece, Geoffrey Pyatt, for his opening remarks. Mr. Ambassador, the floor is yours.
Great. Thank you, Nektaria. Great to see you. And thank you to everybody for joining this in what is the fourth session of the Embassy-sponsored program on US-Greece economic relations and the future of the Greek economy. This is a fantastic topic, and I couldn't agree with you more, Nektaria, that it's really important to have a conversation not just about the military and security dimensions of our expanded cooperation, but also this area of innovation and entrepreneurship that's so important. I want to thank the whole team at ELIAMEP for partnering with us on this project and just say how proud we are of our strategic partnership with both ELIAMEP and with the American College of Greece, Deree. I also want to thank all of our speakers. It's great to see Effie, Nico, Constantinos. Thank you for sharing your perspective, and I look very much forward to hearing what you have to say. I also want to congratulate George and ELIAMEP on really impeccable timing. I don't think that there is any precedent in modern Greek history for the past 2 weeks of good news on the Greece foreign investment front. If you look at all of the enormous deals that have been announced, JP Morgan's investment in Via Payments, Meta Facebook picking up Akousonis, and Prodigy investing in Polefish. So all three are great indicators of how American business is really starting to focus systematically on the tech sector opportunities here. But as everybody on the screen knows very well, none of this happened overnight. I've seen tremendous progress over the past 5.5 years of how our two countries work together, drawing from the greatest strengths of the US economy, our ingenuity, our entrepreneurial environment, but also the fantastic human capital that Greece possesses and the success of Greek business people literally around the world. I'm especially proud when I think about this period of the extraordinary success of the 2018 Thessaloniki International Fair, which I think played a really important role as a catalyst to greater American investment throughout Greece, coming at just the right time to help Greece's return to economic growth after a really difficult decade, but also in helping to put a spotlight on the knowledge-based economy, the tech sectors that have been such an important part of the story over the past couple of years. We've tried to reinforce that since 2018. In 2020, we had the signature of the Science and Technology Agreement between our two countries, creating a framework to further advance collaboration on research and market-oriented innovation. And I'm very proud of all the work that we've done there with the Ministry of Development. I'm also a great fan of everything that we have going on in the university-to-university space. Our work with Aristotle University in Thessaloniki, with Forth in Crete, all the American institutions, NYU, Tufts, Duke, that have come here, working with Greek institutions, including, of course, the University of Athens, working on everything from diseases to cutting-edge solar technology. One example that I talk about probably too much because it's such a nice fit is a Boston-based Greek-American company, Advent Technologies, which I sort of feel like I discovered. I stumbled on Advent the first time at the Science Park in Patras when they were a scrappy startup working on some ambitious ideas for hydrogen fuel cell technologies. Since then, Advent has won contracts from the U.S. Department of Defense. They've had their IPO. They've begun to make acquisitions in Silicon Valley, but they've also grown here in Greece. And it's a fantastic example of the synergy that's happening in a really important sector because, among other things, Advent is the main technology provider for the White Dragon project, which is such an important part of Prime Minister Mitsotakis's energy transition strategy in Western Macedonia. And in particular, some of the big ideas that giant Greek companies like Hellenic Petroleum and Motor Oil have for the hydrogen sector. We're, of course, hugely enthusiastic about everything the Greek government is doing in terms of digital reforms. I think Kyriakos Perakakis is really one of the heroes of the past 2.5 years. If you look at everything that his team has done to advance governance and digital transformation of government, but also to create the kind of environment that is attracting so many American tech giants, Digital Realty picking up Lambda Helix, Amazon Web Services, of course, Microsoft. And there are literally, it seems like every week there's another one of these that's announced. So we see these creating jobs and opportunities for Greeks, but also helping to grow the tech sector ecosystem in a way that's really powerful. We're also very interested in what Minister Perakakis and his team are doing in the 5G sector, which I hope people can talk about a little bit. All of these transformative telecom innovations, which are going to be so important to shaping the knowledge economy of the future. Couple of other quick sectors I will mention. Obviously, shipping has been part of Greek identity for 3,000 years, and we're great supporters of what an American company, Onyx, has done on Syros to revive the shipyards there. Their interest now in the shipyards here in the Attica region, but also the kind of partnerships that we're seeing, for instance, between Onyx and Cisco to establish a technology innovation center in the Kakladis to help the shipping sector move into the digital future. Also healthcare. Pfizer, of course, is the flagship example of that success in Thessaloniki, but there is so much more that can be done in this area as well. And then finally, I would just mention as something worth keeping an eye on is all the programs that the United States Embassy has sponsored, many of which are also with our key diaspora partners like the Hellenic Initiative and MIT Enterprise Forum, but focusing on Greek young people, upskilling groups like Mindspace Foundation, Mihoho, all of which have helped to create an environment that empowers Greek young people to experiment in this technology space and move forward jointly. So we've got a lot going on. I just touched on the climate issue, which is obviously so important to our collective future, a high priority for Prime Minister Mitsotakis, but also for President Biden and his administration. And finally, just to finish where I started and you started, Nektaria, I would just come back to this vision of strategic collaboration. And if you look at all of the areas where Greece and the United States are working together in the wider neighborhood, our work with the 3+1 with Greece, Israel, and Cyprus, our collaboration also with Egypt, our work in the Western Balkans, and of course, we just had a historic visit by the president of Montenegro. Prime Minister will be going to Zagreb and Belgrade in the not too distant future. And then as far north as the Black Sea, Ukraine, these are all important parts of Greece's strategic space, but they are also areas where there's a natural role to be played by Greek entrepreneurs, by Greek business, which has come out of this really difficult decade and is now well positioned to help reinforce this new, more strategically engaged phase of Greek foreign policy. You only have to look at the example of Mytilineos, and I saw the Mytilineos partnership with GE for the reconstruction of the electrical network in eastern Libya is moving ahead. The work that Greek companies are doing in the Middle East, in the Gulf, all of these are ripe areas for collaboration between American companies and Greek partners, like what we see between GE and Mytilineos in Libya. And I hope that we can keep an eye on how those partnerships are going to continue to expand, especially in the immediate neighborhood where Greece has both deep historical ties, but also a lot of local knowledge that American companies can leverage to their advantage. So thanks a lot, and I look forward to the conversation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador, for the very nice introduction to all the sectors of partnership and the capabilities for Greek entrepreneurs. And I would also like to ask the General Director of ELIAMEP and Professor of European Politics and Economy at Athens University, George Pagoulatos, for his opening remarks.
Thank you, Nektaria, and thank you, Ambassador, for this warm and very substantial introduction. And on behalf of ELIAMEP, I too would like to welcome you to this panel on innovation as a driving force for Greek-American relations. It is part of a broader ELIAMEP project on Greek-American economic relations and the future of the Greek economy. I'd like to acknowledge the support of the U.S. Embassy of Athens and our longtime partner, the American College of Greece, in bringing about this project. ELIAMEP has taken an interest in analyzing the impact of U.S. investments on Greek economic recovery, among others on innovation and technology. Over the last few years, as the ambassador said, we've seen a number of important American investments signaling a U.S. commitment and a vote of confidence in Greece's economic prospects. This comes on top of the strengthening of Greek-American ties in areas such as defense, as demonstrated in the MDCA, and energy, among others, diversifying Greece's energy mix and promoting energy security. And we owe much of this progress to the tireless energy and commitment of Ambassador Geoffrey Pyatt. And we'd like to thank you once again in this opportunity, Ambassador, for all that you've done in strengthening Greek-American relations over the years. In this broader environment, we draw optimism from the progress of Greek-American economic relations. They broaden horizons for the Greek startup ecosystem, and they give the opportunity to Greek SMEs to explore synergies with American companies. American technology investments in Greece have contributed to creating conditions conducive for some Greek scientists and startuppers to stay in the country and to repatriate the human capital that is needed for Greece's economy, while also maintaining their foreign networks. And may I add to what the ambassador said, that this is a reawakening, a time of reawakening of Greek business extrovertness in relating to counterparts in the US, and also in expanding our presence, the presence of Greek entrepreneurship in the region, in the Balkans, in the Black Sea, in the Mediterranean. Investments we have seen, such as those of Amazon Web Services or Microsoft, carry a longer-term potential of transforming Greece into an innovation technology hub in the Balkans. And we at ELIAMEP intend to deepen our focus on the digital realm and digital governance, as we have recently expanded our agenda to strengthen our work on security and defense, and to include climate change, sustainability, and the Mediterranean. So without further ado, let me again welcome you all to this online panel. I'll pass the floor to our moderator, Nektaria Stamouli.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So with us today, we have a panel of distinguished guests who know the issue that we're discussing very well. We have Nikolaos Bakatselos, who is the president of the American-Hellenic Chamber of Commerce. We have Effie Lazaridou, Chief Executive Officer and Executive Board Member of New Agriculture, New Generation, and Constantinos Papadias, Executive Director at the American College of Greece and Professor of Information Technology at Deree and Alba. I would like to ask them for a brief presentation of the issue before moving to our Q&A session. Mr. Bakatselos, would you like to start?
Absolutely. Thank you very much for the invitation. I'm particularly happy to be here to discuss a topic which has only positive associations and deals with one of the most efficient interconnection platforms between the US and Greek ecosystems, taking place at a time when there is an ever-increasing investment activity from the United States. US companies are showing trust in what our country has to offer. This is evident by the investments made by Cisco, Microsoft, Deloitte, JP Morgan, Meta, and other US-based multinationals. Financial gains stemming from these investments are already apparent, as is also the potential for sustainable growth in specialized and knowledge-based employment. Our country proves that it can use its competitive advantages to continue attracting international investment in technology, while at the same time signaling our positive investment climate to the international markets. Technology and innovation continue to be the main pillars on which strategic business agreements and investments are built. Innovation is indeed one of the most important pillars associated with the progress of the Greek society and its economic development. State-of-the-art technologies are shaping the fields where innovation gains momentum, while at the same time it spreads through a variety of sectors of the economy, contributing to the creation of a new production model for Greece. In the last couple of decades, and as new technologies transcend borders, knowledge and innovation are becoming more decentralized. We're witnessing more than ever before countries around the world embarking on concentrated efforts to cultivate, attract, and retain talent and leverage innovation as a driver for inclusive economic growth. The US is a point of reference in research and development and for the transfer of ideas into practice for sustainable entrepreneurship. In recent years, Greece has proved that we are better able to keep up, communicate, and collaborate in this environment. At a particularly critical time in our country, where the overall transformation of both society and the economy is rapidly evolving, targeted initiatives and actions are needed more than ever before. Reforms are fundamental to improving the competitiveness of the economy, while the modernization of the public administration, the adoption of friendlier tax policies need to be priorities in our country's reform agenda. At the American-Hellenic Chamber of Commerce, our main concern during the pandemic crisis has been to be proactive and responsive wherever and whenever is needed, ensuring that we continue leading development and supporting business with a strong sense of responsibility and focused determination. We step up to meet business and economic challenges worldwide while helping to prepare the Greek market to take advantage of the opportunities that present themselves. Regarding innovation, which is not something new for the Chamber, we have developed a substantial footprint, particularly due to the efforts of our very active education, innovation, and entrepreneurship committee, through a range of actions and initiatives driven by an understanding of the international environment, having developed relations with the US innovation ecosystem, and by becoming a stakeholder of the domestic institutional environment, we strive to remain a key link in shaping tomorrow's innovation agenda. I think I will leave it there. I just want to mention once again how important it was, well, how important the ambassador's involvement was, particularly with the Greek pavilion, the US pavilion at the Thessaloniki International Fair in 2018, when it all started, and it has been growing since then. And I also want to stress something which we often forget. We forget the management of the American multinationals here in Greece that have convinced the management of their companies that Greece is the right place to invest. And I think this has been the initial seed for this success. So that's it from my side. So back to you, Deree.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bakatselos. Ms. Lazaridou, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I'd like to thank ELIAMEP, of course, for their welcoming invitation, and of course the Hellenic American Chamber and Ambassador Pyatt, who has been supporting us along with his team and the US Consulate in Thessaloniki throughout our work the last 3.5 years in Greece. So innovation is closely related both to education and entrepreneurship, and this is further manifested also by the particular committee that Mr. Bakatselos has referred to at the US Hellenic Chamber of Commerce. So what we are doing, our non-profit organization is doing, is actually bridging the US ecosystem of knowledge and innovation with the Greek ecosystem in a particular sector, the agri-food sector, agriculture and food systems. So let me just share a few slides to give you an idea of our work here in Greece. I hope this works. Fantastic. So we started off in late 2018 as a small business unit of Rutgers University here in Greece with the founding donation of the Stavros Niarchos Foundation and the vision to create opportunities for employment and entrepreneurship for young people in the agri-food system. 2 years later, we developed into a non-profit, independent, Greece-based organization, again with the empowerment of the founding donor and with a very close collaboration with Rutgers University that still is growing stronger and stronger. Rutgers is the state university of New Jersey, has hundreds of years in experience in the agri-food sector and actually is supporting the entire agri-food ecosystem and industry in the state of New Jersey. So we are working with them. They are technical and strategic advisors. And in that regard, we provide capacity building programs and entrepreneurship support programs for young people up to the age of 45 to 50, so young at heart mainly, in the Greek ecosystem. Synergies and collaborations across the board are at our core DNA. So what we see ourselves to be is ecosystem builders. So we're trying to bridge the gap between the public institutions, the industry, the companies, the funders, the non-profit organizations. So we are all aligned towards the advancement of the agri-food ecosystem here in Greece. The agri-food ecosystem in Greece is a very important economic sector, is the second employment sector in Greece, and as presented by numerous studies the last 20 years, it has a great potential of growth and a great potential for job creation and also value added in the GDP, the national GDP. However, as a country, we still have a long way to go to get that potential, to be able to effectively leverage that potential to the benefit of both the Greek nation and the GDP. So within that regard of collaborations, we have spread our network across many different institutions, all the universities, research agencies. The US Embassy, of course, is one of our valued collaborators. And during the last 3.5 years, what we have accomplished is to have provided training, practical training and support for more than 3,500 people in Greece, working together with more than 300 professional and academic trainers, supported more than 80 business plans and more than 100 small family and startup businesses and cottage industries with very practical and solid results, which are measured by an annual social and economic impact report led by an independent agency. So we're quite proud of the results. More than 62% of the beneficiaries have improved their production processes. I'm sorry, I have the sun on my face. I hope this doesn't disturb you. It's fine for me. More than 62%, almost 63% improved their production processes, 52% adopted new production processes, 32% of our beneficiaries increased their income, and 38% increased production and operational effectiveness, while the additional economic value created by our beneficiaries for the first 18 months of our activities has exceeded 20 million euros. We're now in the following weeks expecting the next socioeconomic impact report, which we will certainly share the results with the public. So what Rutgers is doing with us, how we are leveraging this valuable collaboration. So Rutgers has extreme expertise in what we call extension and advisory services. So they are supporting the farmers across New Jersey, and they're supporting the commodity groups with scientific support. And this collaboration in New Jersey is a two-way collaboration. It's not like a trainer talking to a trainee, but it's a two-way discussion that informs not only the farmers but also the university and the researchers in regards to what the market and the industry needs. So these kind of principles are embedded in whatever we're doing here in Greece. All our programs that are relevant to capacity building have these principles of two-way communication and scientific expertise coming from Rutgers as well and the US. So moreover, Rutgers is contributing to all the new programs that we're creating, both in terms of planning and implementation, and also in terms of reviewing and evaluating new initiatives. They're assisting us, and this has been particularly important through during the COVID pandemic. They are assisting us in terms of training our own trainers. So the last 2 years, the training has been endorsed, enhanced, also with modules that are familiarizing our trainers with state-of-the-art e-learning tools, the same e-learning tools that Rutgers is also using with their own faculty and professional staff. We're also working with food scientists, quality experts, and marketing specialists from Rutgers, especially from the food innovation centers that Rutgers is operating in New Jersey. We're bringing expertise from these specialists who are not academics, but they're industry people. So we're bringing that expertise to Greece, to our young graduates who have a unique opportunity to learn firsthand all the latest insights about the US food industry and the food market as well. Rutgers is also supporting all the agri-food tech community through the different innovative challenges that we are hosting every year. As a matter of fact, before the COVID pandemic, the winners of the challenge had the opportunity to visit New Jersey and meet with scientists, with entrepreneurs, and also with the investment community in the States. This was an effort particularly supported by the US Embassy and also the Greek consulate in New York. Moreover, we are transferring knowledge in particular scientific domains, and especially when it comes to circular practices, farm plastics, waste management. We bring the best of the best the university has, and they are giving lectures to universities, and they're also taking part in several initiatives that we are holding in terms of high-profile discussions and working groups. These photos are from a particular initiative we led a couple of years ago that had to do with the farm plastics use. And last but not least, Rutgers is contributing to the development of a food innovation center in Greece. We are now in the final, let's say, stages of planning this investment. So Rutgers has been involved since the beginning with their huge expertise. They run, as I mentioned earlier, 2 such facilities in New Jersey, and these facilities are actually there to work with the businesses that want to do what we call a soft landing in the US market, or US-based businesses that want to expand their work. So that was just, an introduction to who we are and what we do and how we, let's say, how we leverage the the American-Greek relations within the scope of innovation and bringing education and entrepreneurial opportunities to the Greek ecosystem.
Thank you very much for this introduction, Ms. Lazaridou. Now, Mr. Papadias, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Nektaria. Good afternoon to all. Very happy to be here. Many thanks to ELIAMEP for inviting me. Congratulations to all of you, ELIAMEP, Professor Pagoulatos, for putting together this great series. And we're very happy to support it, of course, and happy to see also that the US Embassy and Ambassador Pyatt are supporting it as well. So if you allow me to share a few slides as well. Okay, I hope that you can see my screen. The American College of Greece, as you know, has been acting for a long time as a kind of bridge between the US and Greece on the front of education. We are one of the oldest academic institutions in Europe that is US-based. And over the years, we have expanded substantially. By now, we have Deree College that has about 4,000 students or so, 36 undergrad majors, 8 master degree programs. We have the Alba Graduate Business School with 4 MBA programs and another 10 MSCs. And we're also the first regional accredited US institution abroad. The American College of Greece has already been playing an important role, I believe, in the area of education. However, more recently, it's been putting together a plan to also play a more active role in the Greek economy, including technology-based innovation. And I'd like to say a few words about that in the next few minutes. We have put together a plan. It's called the ACG 150 to mark the 150 years from the founding of the American College of Greece, which will happen in 2025. And the idea is to leverage education for economic and social impact. So it's a strategic plan, and it focuses in the following few axes that you see here: economic performance, public health, civic engagement. And the idea is to become a leading independent academic institution in Greece that will contribute substantially into economic and social impact in the country, but beyond as well. So the way this plan is being implemented is by putting together a number of institutes and centers. And as you can see here, these are thematic oriented. So we have a center of excellence on food, tourism and leisure, a center of excellence on logistics, shipping and transportation, another one on sustainability. So vital domains of the Greek economy. But I'd like to focus more today on another unit that we have put together, which is somewhat horizontal. So it's devoted to research and technology-based innovation. And it's called the RTIN, the Research Technology Innovation Network at ACG. And it's the one that I've been leading over the last couple of years or so. So what's the main idea? The main idea is to put together efforts that combine forces from the academic world, the industrial world, and the public sector in order to promote research, innovation, technology development, and transfer. We want to become a force in the generation of intellectual property, both of our own intellectual property, but possibly to support others to do so as well, and to also be a catalyst for bringing together potential investors, entrepreneurs, and startups in order to encourage job growth in these sectors in Greece and our area. So over the last couple of years, where these efforts have been going on, we have taken a number of steps in order to implement this vision. What we have done is, first of all, we have established 2 entities that we can use in order to support research grants in Greece and in Europe. So this is important because we need to have a presence in Greece in order to be able to participate in such grants. So we have the Alba Association and the ACG Research Center. We have appointed a number of research area leaders in the different fields where we are active, and these range from information technology to biomedical science to cognitive science, psychology, and the liberal arts. We have an advisory board with recognizable and well-recognized figures across the board from academia, industry, and the business world. We have started strong interactions with the Greek public ecosystem in the area of innovation. So we recently established, for example, an MOU with the National Center for Scientific Research, Demokritos, which is one of the biggest one in the country. And we plan to join forces to put together an innovation hub on their premises. We have started putting together research labs such as the Smart Wireless lab that we have, which runs already a number of EU grants and hosts some PhD students. We are engaging with the local venture capital community. We have advisors and interactions with the main players there. We have just finished drafting a tech transfer regulation, which will allow our own faculty members and our own students to find their way towards the market in case they have an idea that is worth exploring further. We inaugurated recently two STEM labs in order to start bringing science and technology in a more prominent way into our curricula. And this is accompanied by a number of also state-of-the-art science labs that we recently renovated. And we also started a number of collaborations, specific collaborations, either in the context of EU grants or direct grants with the industry, such as with Nokia Bell Labs in the US, but also with the local startup community. For example, SAS is a local company that manufactures UAVs here in Athens. And of course, we are open into publishing our results, writing proposals, and being a player in Horizon Europe as well, which is a big funding mechanism for this kind of activity. A few very tangible examples just to wrap up. In the context of this EU grant that we are running, we are building a UAV system that will act as somewhat of a flying Wi-Fi router, meaning imagine a Wi-Fi router that comes to you, it can fly, it's completely untethered, so it can come and provide service in areas where it's needed. Imagine that there is some highway accident and you need to provide service to the people that are there very fast, or some other kind of emergency situation. This is something that is done with support by the European Union, but in collaboration with local industry, as I said before. We are very active in 5G communications and even beyond 5G and towards 6G. And for example, we recently finished a campaign for measuring channels for 6G with Nokia Bell Labs in the US. So we measure pretty much almost all buildings of our campus here in Agia Paraskevi, and this will soon lead into a publication. We have two faculty members that have put together a startup in the area of biotech, and it's called Purposeful. So it's in the business of drug repurposing using artificial intelligence, and they're well on their way towards bringing products into the market. So I'd like to wrap it up with this. Very happy to be here. I hope you got a glimpse of what we're trying to do here at ACG, and hopefully, this will contribute into the whole technology-based innovation in Greece. And thank you very much. I can now stop sharing. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Now moving to, I would like to ask a few questions about these very interesting presentations that you just shared. So indeed, Ms. Lazaridou, indeed we have seen that the Greek startup scene has been very successful in attracting investments from US giants. We have mentioned briefly, I think both the ambassador and Mr. Pagoulatos, the latest investment in Greece by JP Morgan. Then we have reports about an investment by Meta. So why is it so significant? What does it mean for Greek startup ecosystem? And what is the situation in the agricultural sector?
Yes, we are living in interesting times and challenging times. We certainly have a starting point here with all these the recent successes, and actually the stories of the founders and the companies themselves are very inspiring. And these are stories of perseverance and hard work and talent, of course. And they represent an inspiration for the younger generations of entrepreneurs. In the agri-food sector specifically, we still have a long way to go. There are several, I would say a few cases of successful startups that we are seeing. However, the thing is that the agri-food sector is at the core of the global challenges that humanity is facing, like climate change and food safety, the ability to feed the growing population. And on the contrary, however, let's say the response of the Greek agri-tech and food tech ecosystem is not what someone would expect. As mentioned earlier, the agri-food sector is the second biggest employer in Greece and has a huge potential for growth in our country. However, only 8% of the number of startups in the national Greek registry, the Elevate Greece, are active in the agri-food sector. Only 8%. So there is a huge way for developing, for let's say highlighting the challenges that the agri-food sector poses for tech solutions. We need the brightest and the most dynamic techpreneurs in the country to kind of put the agri-food sector in the radar and start seeing this sector as a potentially, let's say, interesting for developing new solutions for the huge issues that we are right now need to address. So I would say that I hope all this inspiration coming from the latest successes will put on the spotlight also the agri-food sector and the need to work together to find new tech solutions to provide both to the Greek ecosystem of farmers and the food industry, but also to the global ecosystem.
Thank you. I would like to mention that Mr. Bakatselos had to leave earlier, so he had something to attend. So I would continue with a question to you, Mr. Papadias. I would like to ask you, what do the Greek startups have to gain from their cooperation with the US? And what are the challenges you think that a company that wants to invest in Greece still encounters?
Yes, thank you. It's a great question, actually. In the last few years, we've been seeing more and more Greek startups that are linked to the US. So there's a number of people, often academics, who have been working both in the US and Greece, who returned to Greece at some point, and then with the financial crisis, they saw an opportunity into starting something back in the US. And this has generated, in my opinion, a very interesting paradigm, and we're going to see more of that happening, because what it gives to such startups is it gives them access to, first of all, the capital that you can get in the US. So clearly, one of the big differentiating factors is that still in the US, there's a much larger pool of investment to be made in startups, and it's more easily accessible there, especially through academic links. So that's one big plus in being associated with the US for your startup. Another big plus is the US know-how in technology-based innovation. The US still has a dominant position in this area. Europe is really trying to catch up, but still, if you look around you, the big tech remains largely US-based, and there's still a lot to learn there. So it's a matter of culture. And then I would say another advantage on the other side, having perhaps an executive team in the States, but a back office team or a technical team here in Greece, is that you have a lower employment cost still in Greece. So perhaps you can get going for a longer time before your next round of financing. So I think these are the main benefits. The challenges, of course, for Greek startups are that on the opposite of what I said regarding the advantages in the US, there is less venture capital, even though this is increasing. And in fact, if you ask VC firms in Greece, they have money to give that cannot be absorbed. But then comes the second problem, which is it's hard to find the right skills, to find the right people to hire. So there is also with the brain drain we had with the crisis, there's been a reduction in the available talent, let's say. So I would cite this as the main challenges. However, I have to say that overall things are improving, and I expect things to be much better, going ahead and coming out of all this crisis we had during the last few years.
Hopefully. Thank you. Ms. Lazaridou, how can the Greek-American cooperation, if it can happen, be combined with the EU funds from the recovery package that Greece will get in the coming years, starting from this year, and which will be mainly directed to digital and green investments?
Mm-hmm. So today there's a unique opportunity to radically transform the Greek production structure, and the digital and the green dimension need to be infused in that area. So through the Recovery and Resilience Fund, there will be public investments which are going to create a second wave of private investments. And we certainly need state-of-the-art knowledge and expertise, particularly in the domain of waste management, circular practices, renewables, the use of plastics, of course, that are going to make the Greek industry as well more competitive. So I think there are specific goals, there are resources in place, so there are pillars of activations. So we need to find ways that we can import, we can transfer knowledge from the best of the best and apply it in Greece through initiatives and partnerships. What I'd like to say, however, is that we also need to, under this, let's say, impact investing philosophy, look very closely also to the farmers themselves. In Greece, 94% of the farmers, of the active farmers, have received absolutely no education, no kind of training at all. We need to make those people, we need to create a new generation of farmers that are tech savvy, that are educated, that are well trained. They understand the global issues right now, and they know how to adapt and how to make use of the available tools, the available European funds or the available national funds, and actually take the Greek agricultural sector to the next stage. We need the farmers to be able to have sustainable practices and sustainable businesses, for the Greek ecosystem also to be able to welcome all the innovation and the startup, let's say, production.
Thank you. Mr. Papadias, we noticed that the pandemic makes companies more mobile. We see that even now in our discussion, how mobile things have become. More companies are giving the opportunity to employees to relocate and be based elsewhere from where the company's headquarters are. So I was wondering, do you think that Greece can be part of the countries that attract employees, and how has the pandemic helped us in this direction?
Yes, absolutely. I think the whole employment paradigm is changing with the pandemic. It's very clear. People are working across time zones. Many more people are working remotely. Even domains such as academia, which traditionally used to do things really face-to-face in physical proximity, are getting more and more used to teaching online, as you know, teaching remotely. Even schools have had to do it. And of course, everybody will tell you that this is no substitute to in-class teaching, and it's true. However, new opportunities are coming up. So businesses are taking advantage of this a lot. The examples I mentioned before of Greek companies that have a part of the team in the US and another part of the team here in Greece are using this a lot. If you go to scientific conferences, these days, I wonder how we'll ever get back to the old model when everyone wants now all time zones to be able to participate. And they ask you, even if you attend the conference to give a talk, they ask you to also have a pre-recorded video so that people can watch offline, from the convenience of their own home at any time they want. So on the business front, I believe, yes, this will change the way we work. It will improve certain things. Greece, I think, is a very attractive destination, and this will become more and more clear in the coming years. And now that, let's say, the whole infrastructural part is out of the way, and we have realized over a couple of years that we can work without major problems in many, many domains remotely. Other than that, Greece is a very stable and safe environment. It's well connected. It has the advantages of the weather. It's a top tourist destination, as you know. So I think this will start with Greeks from the diaspora themselves. I personally know several people, academics especially around Europe, who have quasi moved back to Greece with the pandemic, and their employers don't complain about that. So now you see them buying houses back here in Greece, spending maybe 8 months a year without changing their employment status at all. So I expect to see much more of that coming. I believe we are really a very attractive destination.
Thank you. Ms. Lazaridou, what do you think? Do you think Greece can become a hub for startups? Can it attract employees from around the world?
Well, I totally agree with Mr. Papadias, and it's something that we see happening around us. And certainly, I mean, Greece in the public perception is a country ideal in terms of climate and scenery and maybe lifestyle. So in that aspect, we are kind of attractive. If in terms of talent development, we can. I mean, there are certain sectors that are very attractive for those that seek talent. So I'm certain that if we keep on investing in the human capital here in this, the human resources, the human aspect, we will certainly be even more attractive for investors to come here. And if investors come here, then it's a snowball effect afterwards. So we need to work with the people. We need to work with the investment atmosphere, and also with all the regulatory reforms that need to come to place.
Okay, thank you very much all. I think we're running out of time. I think we got a very clear overview of innovation as a driving force for Greek US and companies, and a clear overview of all the sectors, all the several sectors that companies from the two countries can start working together or are already working together. Unless someone wants to add something, I would like to thank you all for being here today with us and for the very interesting discussion.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.